Hello friends, today in JT Kent Keynotes we will study about Aconite, which is the third drug in the Kent lectures. Aconitum Nepalus is the full name of Aconite. So it's a short acting remedy, he says. The symptoms do not last long and the symptoms come suddenly and violently, he says, and suitable to feeble sick people who come down and recover slowly from acute diseases. So it is suited to such people, he says, and especially vigorous plethoric individuals it is more suitable than the thin individuals. So when they take cold, when the vigorous people or the plethoric people, fat people take cold, they come down violently. That is violent, come down violently in the sense the symptoms come very shortly and suddenly. Then only from the violent exposure to cold dry winds. This is the characteristic in Aconite. The keynote symptom, what you can say, the ailments from exposure to cold dry winds you get. So even Dunham also states in his Materia Medica that it is a great storm and soon over. So this how the storm comes and goes immediately. Similarly, the aconite symptoms also will come very suddenly and violently, destroys everything and goes off. So the general symptoms he gives in aconite is aggravation from exposure to dry cold wind. General symptoms in the sense this aggravation or the symptoms you can find it in every section of the body. So if the patient has headache, or if he has some urinary complaints, or if he has some abdominal symptoms, so any symptoms you can find these symptoms as common. These are the general symptoms. So aggravation is common from the exposure to dry cold wind, aggravation from very cold weather of winter, from intensely hot weather of summer also. So lung and brain complaints are mainly seen in the winter, he says, while the bowel inflammations and stomach disorders are mainly seen in the summer. All inflammatory conditions are attended with great excitement of the circulation. So like violent action of the heart, tremendous turmoil of the brain, a violent shock with intense fear. These are the common symptoms you get in any inflammatory conditions in the body. So wherever you find the inflammations, there is great excitement of the circulation. So when there is a great excitement of circulation, that means the part will become very red. So there will be redness of the part, and violent action of the heart. That means there will be palpitation, tachycardia. Then there will be tremendous turmoil of the brain. That means there will be confusion and fearful anxiety that will be seen. Violent shock symptoms will be seen, and with intense fear. The mind symptoms are also very prominent in aconite. Then the you can find burning also as common symptom everywhere, as if covered with pepper. You know the pepper is very whenever it touches, or when we inhale or when we take it, so there will be a burning sensation. Similar burning sensation will be felt by aconite patient. And even cutting and tearing pains like knife like pains he gives is seen in the aconite. Coming to the mind symptoms, you find uh, like we have the poison of aconite. If it is taken, aconite is taken by and poisoned, the symptoms what you get, the similar symptoms you find even in the potentized aconite also. So there will be great nervous irritation and excitement in a patient. Then fear is the main factor here, where there is violent action of heart, thinks that he must die. So he says also, thinking he will die, doctor, there is no use, I am going to die. If a doctor visits him when he is sick, he says this, and he actually predicts the moment and or the hour of his death. He says the exact time when he is going to die. So if a clock is in the room, he may say that when the hour hand reaches a certain point, he will be a corpse. This is what his fear will be always. That is the fixed fear he is having, which you find in the aconite. There will be intense fear with airful anxiety, great restlessness, violence, and sudden attacks. So this is seen in the aconite, and every part of the symptom, as I told you, every part of the body, wherever the complaints are, this will be associated, fear will be associated. So Kent says it hardly matters what part of the body we are considering, we will find inflammatory conditions. But regardless of the region or the locality of the inflammation, that which I have described is the appearance of the patient. Such are the symptoms that will stand out, that you will observe first: the appearance of the face, the mind symptoms, the restlessness, and the intensity. So that's what I was saying. Wherever the condition inflammation is, it is irrespective of that, if there is restlessness, fear factor, okay, and violent action of the heart, anxiety, these all symptoms will be highlighted, then aconite should be prescribed. Just based on inflammation, it should not be prescribed. Then other than the fear, there will be symptoms of state of indifference also seen in the aconite. So indifference, we know indifference is they have aversion to certain people or certain things or to work, that is called indifference. So here he has lost all affections for his friends. He does not care what becomes of them. He has not the slightest interest in them. That is what is indifference seen in the aconite. So you find indifference even in the sepia also, which is the main remedy for indifference. Acid phos also you have indifference. So in sepia they will, especially he says, there will be indifference with the loved ones. So here it is especially with the friends. So he has indifference. In delirium with excitement and fear, they weep as in great torment. Weeping tendency is also seen in the aconite. So especially in delirium, along with fear and excitement, there will be weeping also present. Mourning and irritability, anger, and throwing things away, all attended. So whatever things will be there in anger, he will throw it. So that will be seen. Screams with pain, this also is seen in the aconite. That is, the violency will be seen even in the pain. The pain has violent pains will be there. Pains are like knives, stinging, cutting, stabbing. These will cause screaming in the patient. Coming to particular symptoms, coming to vertigo, he gives a symptom where he says that a woman out shopping runs up suddenly against a dog and becomes violently dizzy. She cannot even get to her carriage. Vertigo that comes on from fear, from sudden fear, and fear of the fright remains, then the aconite will be helpful, he says. So here the vertigo is especially due to fear, what she had, that to sudden fear. That is the symptom you have to take to prescribe the aconite. Head symptoms. So you have congestive headache here with anxiety and hot face. So I had told in the beginning there will be circulation, excitement of the circulation. So when there is increased circulation, so it can even give rise to congestive headache. And along with headache, of course, there will be anxiety and hot face. And especially the headache will be from taking cold, from suppressing catarrh in the nose, and violent headache over the eyes, especially over the eyes, he says. Then coming to eyes symptoms, sudden inflammation, congestion, blood red appearance of the eyes. See what I had given you in the beginning, the general symptoms, same symptoms you have to apply in every part. So that is, there will be increased circulation, and there will be increased anxiety, restlessness, aggravation from exposure to cold, dry winds. So these will be seen everywhere. inflammatory signs will be then, because inflammation, one of the main pathology will be seen in the aconite remedy. So inflammatory signs, there will be swelling, redness, warmth. So these all signs will be seen even in the aconite. So in eyes there will be great swelling without any discharge or only very watery mucus. The lids will swell so rapidly that they cannot be opened except with great difficulty, and when they are forced open by seizing the margins of the lids with a pair of forceps, drops of hot water will fall out, but no pus. It's just plain water that will be flowing. So here what he gives is, suddenly the why there will be the what you say the oozing of the water, that is, suddenly the blood vessels become engorged and ooze, and the blood vessels will rupture and the capillaries will ooze. That is why the lids will be swollen so rapidly, and if you try to open it, if you force it to open the lids, so a few drops of hot water may fall out, but it will not be suppurated, there won't be pus inside it. There can be water or they may not be water, but that condition you have to give the the aconite will come. The sudden inflammations that come on with thick discharges would never be aconite. This is what he gives clear instruction in aconite. This is the points which we should remember in aconite. So if there is a thick discharge, don't prescribe aconite. If there is only watery discharge, then aconite should be thought of. Then some myths of aconite. What do you mean by myths of aconite? Myths means they many of them will consider it to be the only remedy for such condition. So that is the myth which should not be followed in homeopathy. So some say give aconite for the first stage of an inflammation. So it is not a good teaching, Kent says. Although it is recommended in all of our books, it does not say for what kind of a constitution or how it comes about. So that is not explained. Do not practice that way. Get all the elements for an aconite case if possible, or give a better remedy, he says. Just because it's an inflammation, first stage of inflammation, don't prescribe aconite. It may not help the patient. So it should cover the constitution, it should cover the other factors, whatever I told you, the associated factors, restlessness, fear, anxiety, and the increased circulation, inflammatory signs, all those things. If it is there, thin discharge, so all these if it is covering, then you have to prescribe in the first stage of an inflammation. So he also gives aconite was the fever remedy of many of our early rotinists, but it is a bad practice. So most of the practitioners give aconite for fever. So for every fever, most of the fever, they prescribe initially aconite, but he says it is a bad practice. So it should cover the all the other associated symptoms whatever we have studied. So if that is there, then we have to prescribe aconite. So next comes fever and chills. How will be the fever in the aconite? So aconite has no results of inflammation. You are not to think of aconite in fever unless the aconite patient is present. See what he says. So as I said you, see if you want to be a very good homeopathic practitioner, just don't go with the diagnosis, don't prescribe on the diagnosis. So you have to take the patient as a whole. Try to find the other factors which you get in the aconite. Like I said you, the general symptoms initially, those factors should be there with the fever. If that is there, then aconite should be prescribed. So great restlessness with the fear, sensitiveness to light, violent aching of the eyes, and inflammation of the deep structures of the eyeball. So an inflammation that is about to run a prolonged course to take on suppuration, or if it is mucous membrane to take on discharge of pus, will never show you the symptoms of aconite. So he gives it very clearly. If the fever is because of suppurations, because of the pus collection anywhere in the body, then aconite is not the remedy for it. So we know that initially I have told you aconite will have watery discharge, not even thick discharge, and no pus will be found in the aconite. So he gives some cautions, which we have to follow. Never give aconite in blood poisoning, such as we find in scarlet fever, in typhoid fever, etc. Never give aconite for any forms of zymosis, for it has no zymotic history. There should be no thought of aconite in slow coming continued fever. So we know that the symptoms always will be sudden and violent. That should be seen everywhere. Here even in the fever also, if the fever has come suddenly, only then you should think of aconite. If it is gradually increasing the temperature, aconite may not help in that case. It is in no way related to an intermittent fever, as it has no such symptoms. Some remedies have periodically or waves. Aconite has no such condition. He gives these instructions. Okay. The most violent attack of fever will subside in a night if aconite is the remedy. So if you have understood the case properly, and if you find aconite only is the remedy for this patient, so you prescribe aconite in fever condition, it will, if the aconite is the remedy for that patient, it will subside within a night. All things that exist in a sickness must be taken into account. Not only what the remedy does cover, but what it does not cover also should be taken, he says. Okay, so these were some of the cautions you need to keep in mind when you want to prescribe aconite for fever. So coming to ear symptoms. Ear symptoms, the child comes home after being out in the cold north wind and is not sufficiently clad, and now it screams and puts its hand to the ear. The attack comes on early in the evening after being out in the daytime. So this is what Kent gives in his lectures. So he describes, so when the child will suffer from earache, when the pain will be mostly seen. So when there is exposure to dry cold winds, if the pain has come after the exposure, you should think of the aconite. That too, if the symptoms have come suddenly. So the pain will be throbbing, intense, stinging, burning, tearing, cutting pains in the ear. Noise is intolerable. Music goes through every limb, he says, in ears. And the patient is always in a state of anxiety and irritability. As I had told you, though it is earache, the mind symptoms have to be there along with the particular symptoms. Then coming to coryza. So coryza comes on again here suddenly in the night after exposure and taking cold during the day. He goes in cold air with his light clothings, that is thin clothings, and comes down if he is a plethoric individual before midnight. Okay, so here we should remember that he mentions clearly that initially also I told you that Kent gives aconite is suitable for plethoric individuals, stout people, fat people, not the thin lean people. So if fat people are exposed to cold dry winds, and that too if they are wearing some light clothings and they have gone and they have exposed to cold air, and within the same night they are suffering with the coryza, then aconite will come. Okay, so aconite coryza is always associated with nosebleed, headache, anxiety and fear. So he gives some remedies also where we can differentiate in such conditions bedside for the coryza. Carbo veg he gives. Coryza comes On several days after the exposure, most often he becomes overheated and takes cold. So you find that some people will get cold even when they are exposed to hot summer weather. So if they have gone in hot sun and they come home, so they get cold symptoms, coryza symptoms. So this is seen even in the carbo veg he gives. Then he also gives about sulfur. Sulfur, he says, the coryza also comes on several days after the exposure, just like carbo veg, he says. Okay, but sulfur also has some other factors which we need to remember along with coryza. Then hepar sulf is another remedy which you have to remember. On exposure to cold winds, the patient will have croup the next morning. So today he has exposed to cold winds and night he will be fine. He will not suffer with any problem. But next day he will start having the coryza, cough and phlegm. So this will start. So then hepar sulf will come. You can't think of aconite just because he was exposed to dry winds, cold dry winds. The sickly ones will come down later. Their vital activities are so reduced that their complaints do not come on sometimes for 2 or 3 days, he says. Okay. Next, coming to face symptoms. In face, there is great anxiety look on the face. One cheek is red, the other pale. A plethoric individual when exposed to dry cold winds, neuralgic pains like hot wires running along either side of the face, and he becomes numb, and then intense pain will start. Shrieks with the knife like cutting pains, crawling, creeping like ants, tingling sensation with or without pain. So this sensation also will be seen even in the nerves related symptoms and even on face. There will be crawling, creeping like ant sensation, tingling sensation will be present. Intense heat on the face will be felt, and the side of the face led on will often break into sweat. So this is another symptom you need to remember in aconite. So he describes this symptom in the lectures, the last point, that is the side of the face led on will often break into a sweat. If a patient is lying on right side and the right side will be covered with sweat, then he turns to the left side of the face will get covered with sweat. Then wherever the patient turns, or whichever part of the body is he is lying on, that will be covered with sweat after some time. That is aconite. So next comes mouth and teeth. There is violent toothache again from the dry cold winds, plethoric individuals, hollow teeth, in pain will be intense, cutting, shooting pains in the teeth, disturbances of taste and disordered stomach will be felt. Everything tastes bitter except water. This is one of the characteristic symptoms you find in the aconite. And he longs for water. Because of that, he longs for water, because everything tastes bitter to him except water. That's why he longs for the more water. And he gives another point for tonsils. Again, there will be inflammation with burning, smarting, dryness, great redness of the tonsils with swelling. Kent calls the patient as intelligent physician, an intelligent physician. There is a one paragraph where he describes about that. He says that you have to patient himself will tell that what sort of pain is there. So if he is saying burning and all, we can't, these are all subjective symptoms. So the subjective symptoms only will guide you most of the times the correct remedy. So he is one of the intelligent physician, he says. The patient is an intelligent physician. So he has difficulty to swallow and thirst for cold water is seen. In stomach symptoms, symptoms come from taking cold, exposure to an ice bath, or in a very hot summer from intense heat, associated with an irritable brain in vigorous children he gives. So he gives clearly that if the stomach ache has come from the exposure to dry cold winds or from ice bath or hot summer weather, then aconite will be taken. So if the stomach pain is from overeating, then aconite is not the remedy for that patient. So we can't think aconite due to overeating. So he gives it the name as gastric catarrh. Gastric catarrh. Vomiting, retching, tearing, as if it were the very inside out of the airful retching. So that much of retching will be seen in the aconite. Vomiting of blood, bright red. He craves pungent things, craves bitter things in fever like wine, beer, brandy, but they will come up as soon as they reach the stomach. There is ineffectual urging to vomit when there is nothing in the stomach. Anxiety, restlessness, fear of death. So these are the stomach symptoms you get in the aconite. So coming to liver symptoms, it is useful in sudden inflammation of the liver and in first attack. So another point to remember in aconite is he clearly mentions that inflammations which have come in first attack, then aconite will come, not in the repeated attacks. So there will be the other symptoms will be seen, like there will be violent tearing pains, burning pains, anxiousness, restlessness and fear of death, red face, glassy eyes, great thirst, which are all associated with the other symptoms also. Then abdomen and rectum, there is shooting, burning, stinging pains after exposure to dry cold winds, violent catarrh of the catarrhal inflammations are seen, and he gives watery diarrhea. But this is not a very important symptom, although it is doubly marked in Herring. He gives that Kent always refers Herring for his lectures. So he gives the Herring has marked in aconite watery diarrhea, okay, as very important symptom, but Kent doesn't think it is most important. So when pure blood is passed and mucus with tenesmus, or when a little green mucus is passed by infants with summer troubles, pure blood or grass green discharges with fever coming on suddenly in bright rosy little ones, think of aconite. He gives, you have to think of aconite when there is a pure blood and mucus or green mucus, especially in the fever in children or in infants. If it is seen, then you can think of aconite. Bowel troubles come on from intense heat in children. The infant takes on inflammation of the liver from the heat, and stool becomes white like milk of putty consistency. The child becomes yellow and screams with pain, he says. Even in urinary symptoms also you find inflammation with bloody urine, scanty urine, suppressed urine or retained urine. Retention will be especially from shock, especially in newborn. Then retention from cold in children with crying and restlessness. So here the retention from shock, you mean especially fear. So suddenly when the newborn comes out into the new world, he will be frightened. If he frights, that can affect the system. So there can be retention of urine. He may not pass urine for few days. So then aconite will be the remedy for such newborn. Cutting, tearing pains, burning pains with burning urine. Urine is hot, dark colored, red, and clear or bloody. Then comes genitals. So in genitals, violent orchitis, but in the common orchitis from suppressed gonorrheal discharges, aconite is useless. He clearly says if it is a common orchitis from the suppressed gonorrheal discharges, aconite will not play the role in that patient. It has to be sudden, violent action has to be there. And he gives another point where he says the woman is a natural aconite patient. He gives with her sympathetic natural sensitiveness, as we know that aconite has lot of fear, restlessness, anxiety, and he says that females are more often fearful, so they suffer with sudden symptoms like aconite. She usually takes on complaints from nervous shock, from fear, and she naturally takes on complaints from causes other than those from which men take on sickness. Fear is a common cause of inflammation of uterus, ovaries in plethoric, vigorous, excitable women. And it is also a commonest cause for abortion. Fear is a commonest cause for abortion in females, and that's why he gives woman is a natural aconite patient. Sometimes even a pregnant woman may say, doctor, there is no use, you are planning for my confinement. He says, she may say, I know I am going to die in that confinement. That much sure she will be. As I told you in the beginning, there is fear of death to that extent that they predict the time of the death, the hour of the death. So here, if it is a pregnant woman, she may explain it, her fear, in this way. She may tell that, however, I am going to die during delivery. Why you are planning so much? So she may exclaim that. Then there is aconite is more frequently indicated in women and children than in men. He gives useful after tedious and difficult parturition and violent after pains, shooting, tearing after pains with febrile conditions, that is with fever conditions. Symptoms rising from taking cold in the puerperal state. Puerperal state in the sense after delivery state, you call it as puerperal state. So he mentions there that it is not the actual puerperal fever what we say. So puerperal fever is because of some infection. If some part of the placenta has remained, or if some part of the membranes have been remained, and that may cause sepsis and septic fever and all. So puerperal fever is different, and here the fever which comes in the puerperal state is mainly because of taking cold, okay, arising after taking cold. So there is no sepsis here seen. So there is soreness in the breast and suppression of the milk and fever. And he says, do not give aconite if there is suppression of lochia. If there is suppression of lochia, he mentions, do not give it. Okay, do not give aconite. This point we have to remember while prescribing. So coming to newborns, in newborns and infants, he gives some points where he says there is difficult breathing after the use of forceps or from tedious labor, and difficulty with heart, and in few hours fever comes on. And then he says there is retention of urine in infant. So in such cases it can be used, he says. So he gives causticum can be prescribed for the retention of urine in the mother. So causticum, he says, will help in the mother if there is retention, and aconite will be helpful in retention of urine if it is in infant. So respiratory symptoms, it is one of the croup remedy only which comes suddenly in plethoric children from exposure to dry cold wind. When cold is put to bed, when the child is put to bed, roses up from first sleep at 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock and grasps the throat and coughs violently. He starts coughing violently. This will be aconite. The croupy, choking cough with hoarse bark. So child becomes tired and subjects to frequent attacks of croup. So these are the symptoms you get in aconite in the croup. Aconite is one of the croup remedy. I have told you coryza, croup and all will come. There Hepar sulf also you have to remember. Then the other remedies he compares is spongia for croup. So what are the differences he gives here is, one is croup on exposure to cold you find both in aconite as well as in spongia. Anxiousness, anxious appearance of the croup is seen again both in aconite and spongia. Then how do you differentiate it? So clinically you have to differentiate. Aconite is a child who is suffering with croup will be very tired, while spongia is not that much tiredness is seen. Then in aconite violent inflammation of larynx is seen with spasms coming with great rapidity. As I told you, the child will get up in the midnight and he will grasp his larynx, so that will be seen. And violent inflammatory signs, there is redness seen, swelling observed in the larynx and all. So while here in the spongia there is less inflammation compared to aconite. And child rouses at 11 p.m. suffocating, choking, intense fever, anguishness and dryness is observed in the aconite. While here spongia also will get up at 11 p.m. suffocating and choking, but it is not associated with fever or anguishness or fear or dryness. These are not seen. So while here in aconite there is very little watery discharge will be seen in aconite. In spongia it will be entirely dry. In the sense, in croup there is no discharge at all, dry croup will be there in spongia, but aconite there will be at least some watery discharge will be present. And in aconite the larynx is very sensitive to touch, and in spongia it is not that sensitive. So these are the differentiating points the Kent has given. So you have to read this and remember these points. This will help you clinically bedside to differentiate and prescribe in acute conditions. Then coming to the other symptoms of respiratory, where dyspnea from contraction of smaller bronchial tubes as in asthma he gives, and dyspnea in capillary bronchitis with cardiac excitement in plethoric persons from taking cold, from becoming exposed or from shock. Dyspnea from fear, and also breathing is short, labored, anxious and quick. So he sits up straight and hardly he can breathe. Sits up in bed, grasps the throat, wants everything thrown off. This is the symptom you find if he is having dyspnea. Then before midnight he will have, when he is having dyspnea or respiratory complaints, before midnight he will have fever, great thirst and great fear. The pulse will be fluttering, weak, full and bounding, profuse sweat, yet he is hot, better from expiration. He is better by expiration, and spasms of larynx often comes on during inspiration. So the main complaint here will be during inspiration than during expiration. Constant short dry cough is observed in aconite. Breathes only with the diaphragm. Very rapid inflammation of the viscera of chest is observed, and mucous membrane oozes blood cherry red, or mucus that comes up is white and heavily streaked with bright red blood. So mostly upper half of the left lung is involved in the aconite he gives. The patient is compelled to lie in a somewhat elevated position on the back. So whenever he is having respiratory complaints, So mainly the upper half of the left lung is involved, and if his dyspnea is present, then he will lie down in a slightly elevated position. Okay, so slightly he cannot lie completely on the uh, supine position. So there is cannot lie upon either side, and increases the because it increases the pain. Hemoptysis not as in phthisis but is involuntary. The blood comes up with a slight cough he gives. In pneumonia, cough with expectoration looking like iron rust, as if the iron rust had been mixed in with it, he says. Even Bryannian Restox also has this iron rust like expectoration. He goes to sleep and larynx becomes dry, and again he gets up and grasps the larynx. He thinks he is going to choke. This is the symptom you get in the respiratory in aconite. Coming to spine symptoms, he gives crawling sensation in the spine like insects that comes from being suddenly chilled, tearing pains down the spine, and painful stiff neck is observed. Sensation of heat or cold along the nerves. So in extremities, trembling of hands are seen, creeping pains in the fingers, cold as ice, and the feet also feels cold as ice. Hot palms are there. So this is one of the point you can remember. Feet is cold as ice, but palms are hot. Rheumatic conditions of the joints, only those that come on as a first attack. As I told, only in first attack it is helpful. Trembling, tingling, convulsion of the muscles are observed, and in the nerves, sensation like ice water poured along the course of the nerves. This point you need to remember. Sciatica, when the sensation is felt down the nerve like ice water. It is useful in sciatica only if the patient says that I feel like ice water being running down. So if he exclaims that, then you have to prescribe aconite. Neuritis in plethoric persons, numbness and tingling, and especially in the nerves that run close to the surface, and inflammation of the nerve sheaths, it is helpful, and nervous excitability and excessive restlessness is observed in the aconite. So he gives some relations with some other remedies. So the first he says that sulfur is chronic of aconite. So why he gives sulfur as a chronic of aconite? So he says that sulfur is used in strong vigorous constitution just like in the aconite. But sulfur is prescribed especially in chronic cases, whereas aconite in same constitutions in sudden attacks. When there is an acute attack, then aconite will come. In such constitution, if there is a chronic problem, then sulfur will come. Then sulfur is suitable in frequent attacks, but aconite only in the first attack. That is the differentiating points you can get in sulfur and aconite. So he says sulfur is chronic of aconite. So follow well are arnica and belladonna, ipecac and bryonia, sulfur and silica. So what do you mean by follow well, and why he gives these remedies? Sulfur, silica, arnica, belladonna, why he gives that? He says that sometimes it will appear that aconite is capable of coping with all there is in the disease. So when you have seen the condition and you have prescribed, you are sure that it is an aconite. It will cover, you feel that it has covered all the symptoms, it will cure the case. But some symptoms may be still remaining, even though the aconite was the right remedy and it has removed most of the symptoms, but still some symptoms may be present in the case. So then these medicines will help to finish up the attack. So that's why follow well remedies, you have to see what the remedy may come. after aconite. So antidote to aconite, he says coffea or nux vomica would be the best remedies for the antidoting of the aconite. If aconite is antidote, he describes as if aconite is administered in too many doses or given it too strong, so then you have to antidote it, so now by nux vomica or coffea. And patient is slow in recovering from attack. If you feel that after giving the remedy he is finding the recovery slow, then also the antidote can be used. Patient has taken it himself unwisely, so if he has not taken properly the medicine the according to the instructions, then also you can prescribe aconite antidote. So these are the relations he gives in the aconite. So I hope it has helped you to understand aconite by Kent lectures. Thank you.